Hello, young man. I'm glad you're here to listen to my story. A story about overcoming the perils of perfectionism and the crippling fear of making mistakes. As a vigilante, I've faced my fair share of challenges, but none as daunting as the battle within. You see, I've always been driven to be the best, to protect Gotham from the forces of darkness, and to be a symbol of hope for its citizens. But this drive, this relentless pursuit of perfection, can be a double-edged sword. On one hand, it pushed me to train harder, to be more strategic, and to anticipate the moves of my enemies. But on the other hand, it created an abyss of self-doubt, a constant fear of not being good enough, and a paralyzing anxiety about making mistakes. I remember the first time I faced the Joker. I was so consumed by the fear of failure that I almost didn't show up. I was terrified of not being able to stop him, of not being able to save the people of Gotham. But as I stood there, frozen in fear, I realized that I had a choice to make. I could let my fear consume me, or I could face it head on. I chose the latter. I took a deep breath, I put on my mask, and I went out there to face the Joker. It wasn't easy, and I didn't win that battle without scars. But I learned a valuable lesson that day. I learned that perfection is not the goal. It's the progress that matters. As I continued to fight for justice, I began to realize that my perfectionism was not only holding me back, but also affecting those around me. My allies, my friends, they were all impacted by my relentless pursuit of perfection. They felt like they couldn't measure up, like they were never good enough. And that's when it hit me. I was not only hurting myself, but I was also hurting those I cared about. So, I made a conscious decision to change. I started to focus on progress, not perfection. I started to celebrate small wins, to acknowledge the efforts of my allies, and to be kinder to myself when I made mistakes. And you know what? It wasn't easy. It took time, patience, and practice, but it was worth it. I began to see that mistakes are not failures, but opportunities for growth. I began to understand that it's okay to not have all the answers, that it's okay to ask for help. And I began to realize that the people of Gotham don't need a perfect hero. They need a hero who is willing to learn, to grow, and to adapt. Now, I'm not saying it's easy. There are still times when the fear of making mistakes creeps in, when the pressure to be perfect feels overwhelming. But I've learned to acknowledge those feelings, to take a step back, and to remind myself that progress is what matters. So, if you're struggling with perfectionism, if you're afraid of making mistakes, I want you to know that you're not alone. I want you to know that it's okay to not be perfect, that it's okay to make mistakes. And I want you to know that you have the power to change. You can start by acknowledging your fears, by recognizing the signs of perfectionism in your life. You can start by being kinder to yourself, by celebrating your small wins, and by focusing on progress, not perfection. You can start by surrounding yourself with people who support you, who encourage you to take risks, and who remind you that mistakes are an inevitable part of growth. And remember, it's not about being perfect. It's about being better than you were yesterday. It's about learning from your mistakes and using those lessons to become a stronger, wiser, and more compassionate person. It's about embracing your imperfections and using them as a catalyst for growth. In the end, it's not about achieving perfection. It's about living a life that is authentic, meaningful, and fulfilling. It's about being true to yourself and being kind to others. And it's about recognizing that you are enough just as you are. So I want to leave you with a challenge today. I want to challenge you to let go of your need for perfection, to embrace your imperfections, and to focus on progress, not perfection. I want to challenge you to be kinder to yourself, to celebrate your small wins, and to surround yourself with people who support you. And if you feel this talk helpful, don't forget like and subscribe. And if you want to be a more grateful person, you can donate on the Patreon account, link on description. See you soon, friend.